Good evening. This is the Elliott Wave update for the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ 100 for Monday, October 9th, 2023. I think as a surprise to many traders out there, the markets did initially react to, of course, the events that happened over the weekend in Israel. And it started yesterday on the Globex opening. Wasn't too severe, continued to trade in a very narrow range, went to a slight new low as Europe came online last night. And then basically traded lower as we reached into our session. We saw a nice little rally to begin, and then we dropped back. And then the market just started to move higher, as I anticipated that it would. Now, if we just stick to the technical picture, which I'm sure what happens quite often when the algorithms get clicked on and they're just doing business has already been pre-planned, so to speak. So when that happened, I got to a point where suddenly it seemed, and that would have been about 1 o'clock Eastern, it seemed that they just really got turned on and the market came back in, or market players came back in as buyers. And that was not unexpected by me or by the Elliott Wave count as I presented it. And just to kind of do a quick review, as I represented yesterday, what we had is last week's lows. Last week's Wednesday during Globex, so early Wednesday in Globex, the market bottomed in what I then have switched over to a minor wave 1 of intermediate wave 3 that I presented yesterday in the podcast. Now, based on that, we're in a minor wave 2, which is going to form an ABC. And I had been discussing that, well, could be all done right there, or we could be in the C wave now, because from that last Wednesday's lows, we have done the A and the B of minor wave 2. And then we did on Friday launch higher after initial very negative reaction to the jobs numbers, right? To the employment situation, the non-farm payrolls, whatever you want to call it. The market reacted negatively, but boy, it clicked. And once we got into our opening, it started to move higher and it did not stop. So taking all of how the market wants to interpret the numbers, taking all of that away and just looking at this technically, a wave 2 was in progress. And so the Fibonacci retracements that go along with that suggested that the market, particularly here in the S&P, would minimally get up to 43.75, which it did today. Now, the wave pattern does show that we have the A wave and the B wave, and likely all of Friday was just like wave 1 of C. And then that decline that we got, starting with the gap that we got it yesterday on Globex, and then again bottoming right at the turn of Sunday night to Monday, when Europe opened, we bottomed again in minuet wave 2 of minute wave C of minor wave 2. So wave 1, wave 2. Now we can start counting again, because now if we're in that minuet wave 3 of minute wave C, well, then we're looking for 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're not done with this minuet wave 2. And so we still have that third, and then a 4, and then a 5. Now, see, you're going to see how this all really does fit. The most common retracements for a second wave are 50% to 62%. The 50% retracement is 44, and we're going to call it 44.17. The 62% retracement is 44.60. Well, we just kind of cruised to the minimum today, and we can see that it's an incomplete structure, still needing additional upside. So the plan would be, yep, we should continue to see an upward movement, an upward bias to trade, getting us to 44.17 to 44.60, somewhere in between there, as we complete the minute wave C of minor wave 2. Now, I was trying to make a decision, or just trying to make sense of what is unfolding in the Middle East, what is unfolding between Israel and Hamas. What is really, just if we are staying glued to the news, is not presenting. It's presenting a horrific picture, basically, of a lot of suffering, a lot of killing, a lot of just, things are not going to look good over there. So to try to figure why the market's doing what it's doing is going to make you crazy. The market's doing what it's doing because basically we're trading technically versus anything else. And this is kind of how things lined up for today. Now, when minor wave 2 is over, the strongest next section of this intermediate third wave, let me just pop back out to that 4-hour chart for a second. Remember, I upped the degree here. So it's intermediate wave 1, intermediate wave 2 that took us up. Intermediate wave 2 took us up to the September 1st highs. That was intermediate wave 2. And now we're in intermediate wave 3, of which we've completed minor wave 1. Remember, wave 3, no matter what degree or how big or how small, wave 3 is most often the longest and the strongest. So when we see that this, hey, has already come in greater than wave 1, could wave 3 be done? No. And here is likely why. Do you see what happened? It's not done. And if it was intermediate wave 3, it would be, it's too short. I'm expecting a much larger third wave. A minor third, yeah, that possibility would exist. But look how close we're going to get to the low of 1. That low is 4,400. We're already projecting that we're likely going to get to above 4,400. So you can see the count would become invalidated, as it did before. With this rally that we saw on Friday, it invalidated the previous count because it started to overlap here. So when you start to see that, as I showed on the SPX and yesterday's update, we had 10 points between where supposedly the market finished on Friday, and that's how much room was in it before that particular label, that particular count, would have become invalidated. Well, we don't want to run into that again, being that the wave 2 should be 1.618 times the length of the wave 1. So we're looking at least down to here, but being that minor wave 1 is coming in pretty large, minor wave 3 is likely going to come in down here. And we can put, as soon as I get 2 in, we'll run that same fib that'll give us some additional indications of where this should end up. So I'm not so concerned with that now. But either just watching, and particularly just watching where we are and how we're going to get there. So again, minor wave 1, minor wave 2. We're inside of minor wave 2. I would continue to look for additional upside. Now, yeah, we could squeeze likely or possibly a 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is actually the 5th, which would still need some additional upside. Now, again, I'll show you that again. Let me drop it down to the 30-minute chart to see. 1, 2, see that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's why I'm calling it 1. But if we had to, 1, 2, and then there's another break in here, but that's the 3rd. This was the 4. Did not overlap, so it's good. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a 3, 4, 5. So we should still get above 4,400, no matter which count. However, I'm going to be counting either one. Okay, so back out to the hourly, no matter which count I'm going to use in terms of the internal. If this is 1, 2, and this turns into a 3, and this turns into a 4, and then it's 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of 3 of 5, 4, and then 5. So I still believe we're going to end up above 4,400. But that's kind of my point. Whichever count, we need to just watch for a turn. When we start getting up towards that 50, and we're getting into counting that we got the 5s all done, and we got, the structure itself is starting to suggest we're done, then we'll start looking for it. And then I will be able to then run a fib from the high, from that September 1st high, down to this low, up to wherever this wave 2 completes, and we'll be able to fill in a lot of the blanks, moving back out. So we'll fill in a lot of the blanks on what the minor third is going to start to look like. My guess is going to come in. We got 2.618, where intermediate wave 3 would be 2.618 times a wave 1, and that's down to 38.42, and that's actually the levels. I'm looking at 38.82 to 38.42 to complete intermediate wave 3. We get an intermediate wave 4, we get an intermediate wave 5, and that brings us down to 33.87, and in fact, even lower. All right, this is just where primary C would equal primary A. And we got additional numbers. So we've got that 33.87 down to 29.80 is actually the window. All right, that's actually the zone right now. As all of these intermediate waves continue to unfold, we will be able to fill in the blanks. But right now, the market still continues to show we have additional upside to do before the decline kicks in again. So understand that it's like, in reality, we may go through Wednesday, right? What do we have coming on Wednesday? We have PPI. So we have PPI on Wednesday, and we have CPI on Thursday. Now, if they show improvement, then, we're going to blast. We're going to go. But if they're showing that it's not improving, then we know what's going to happen. We know that the Fed will start to raise. The Fed's been talking about it. So again, I'm not going to, project out and say, well, this is what's going to happen, so that's why the market's going to go up, because who knows? Plus, what could be developing in the Middle East? We don't know. There's too many things out there that could turn this thing on its heels in the click of a finger, click of a button. But right now, I am looking for higher levels, and our resistance is 44.17 to 44.60. So that is where that is. Now, just to kind of keep an eye on the daily, so that we're looking at our moving averages. Right now, we've now gone back above. We came back down below, but we've gone back above the 200 simple moving average, which is at 43.17. And next up, we're sitting right below the 20 period on the daily. So I think a pop above that will give us that little extra boost to get us up to 44.17. Just above 44.60, we have the 50 period simple moving average and the 100 period simple moving average. And they're basically almost together right there at 44.70 to 44.75. Plus this fib resistance at 44.60. All right, over in the NASDAQ. NASDAQ caught fire late in the day, same as it did in the S&P. Let's go back down here to the hourly chart. But here, it could have just kept going down. and we could have taken it as complete. Now here I am saying 1, 2, and this is the third, and this is the 4, and we're inside the 5th. So it could be the same thing. That's why I discussed it the way I did with the S&P. It is possible. In any case, right now we're inside minuet wave 5 of minute wave C of minor wave 2. Where does it project? Well, we pretty much got right up to, we got up to the 50% marker, where in the S&P we're not there yet. So again, the NASDAQ's a little bit further ahead. We did get up, but we did reach just below it, to be honest with you. I think we got, the high was 15,212. And that resistance is 215. Close enough for government work, as we say. So again, small little 4 kind of happening, and then we'll get another rise. So in essence, it's another 140 points, 150 points from where we are up to 15,365. Now, I put in the fibs for the C wave. 1.618 happens to be exactly where 618 of minor wave 2 both come in at exactly the same area, exactly same level. So that's 15,365. So I got 618 for the entire minor wave 2, and I have 1.618 for minute wave C of minor wave 2. So I got a nice little, not even a cluster, it's just a big stick in the spokes right there, that it could really upset the rally or complete the rally and complete the minor 2. Now, again, remember, as I said, and I've talked about, wave 2 can give a lot of false feelings that, oh, look at these strength and these rallies. And wave 2s have been known at times that they could retrace almost all of wave 1. And in that case, we'd get up closer to 15,850. And guess where 2.618 for wave C is at that 100% level, is at the start of the whole thing. So again, our fibs are matching up cleanly with the fib retracements are matching up cleanly with the fib extensions. So wherever this kind of ends up, I think that's going to go together and we'll be done. But if we go sailing through 15,365, well, then we're likely going to be heading closer to this. A break above that does, and I'll wait to see if it happens, but we have other counts. This is 5. This was 5 waves. This was 5. So this turns into a 535 if it breaks above that. And there are some, and yes, you know, there are alternate views. But again, what I will say on a technical basis, yes, it is possible. In the current reality of which the markets are trying to operate, it would fit if in terms that the primary B wave was not complete. Because then it's fitting B wave. B waves are a fool's paradise. They're deceptive. They're running on air versus solid technicals or solid, you know, ground to launch either the down or the up move. So again, because we've got PPI and CPI coming out this week, I have to bring that back in, and we'll see. We will see how it all plays out. Right now, down here, if I bring this back down to the 4-hour chart and open that up, this is, it's not like it's going to be becoming a bullish run. I can break it down to the hourly and you can kind of see it. You know, that is that, yeah, it's 1, it's 2, it's 3, it's 4, it's 5, or it's 1, it's 2, 1 or 3, 2 or 3, whatever. Those kind of fit, but it's not as this big bullish move. We've seen these before, and we've seen the NASDAQ launch right up out of them. So therefore, I will include it. But right now, I'm looking to see what happens when we get right into here. So again, tomorrow we don't really have anything. Then on Wednesday and Thursday, we have CPI and PPI. Or PPI on Wednesday, CPI on Thursday. So I will detail, depending on what the market does tomorrow, I will detail the alternate. I hate surprises just like everybody else. Now, NASDAQ, let's go back out to the daily, see how it's doing on its moving averages. Now let's open this up a little bit. You can see we're kind of closing in on that 100 and the 50, who are coming to give each other a little bit of a kiss. We got the 50 declining and the 100. These are both simple moving averages. The 100 is still angling up. The 50 is still angling down. They're going to, if they met in the middle, it's going to be somewhere around 15,300. So we shall see. We have our resistance levels at 15,215 and 15,365. So it's going to have to get through that. Does not necessarily have to get up to here. Those moving averages can combine to stop it in its tracks. So let's have some good trading tomorrow. I hope we get some similar moves. It wasn't the fastest market that I've ever seen, but it was pretty consistent and able to pull out some decent money today. That's going to be it. Our next update will be on Tuesday, October the 10th.